Hey guys, how you doing today? Can you hear me okay? All good. Well, Chris Hodge, I'm a marketing manager for FedEx Logistics. I lead the e-commerce team here in Europe. It's quite a new team. We launched a couple years back, trying to push the FedEx Express message and help you guys grow cross-border. I hope you guys know FedEx Logistics, one of the world's largest air carriers. I had a great experience in the Uber last night. I got in and the guy started talking to me. He was one of the nicest drivers I've ever had. And he says, where are you from? I'm from Belgium, Brussels. He says, where do you work? I say, FedEx. And he goes, Wilson! And most of you might be too young to get that reference, but if not, check out Castaway. It's a great movie from the 90s. You'll also learn a lot about FedEx. But today is all about you guys. It's about how you look beyond borders. I want to tell you a little bit about growth opportunities and how you can take advantage of cross-border revenues to shore up any shortfalls that you might have because of some of the things that are going on in the economy right now. It's pretty loud in here, as you guys might have noticed. It might be tough to do Q&A, but if you have any thoughts or questions throughout the session, you can access this QR code. You can drop them directly to me and the commercial team who's around me somewhere in the room, and we'll make sure that we get back to you. If we can't do it now, we'll make sure we get back to you as soon as possible. So try to keep it interactive. What we're going to talk about today are really three topics. The first is what's in store for global e-commerce, so what we see in discussions with customers and in some of the internal and external research that we do at FedEx Express. The second are the factors that are driving continued growth in e-commerce, so kind of giving away where the market's going, but we do see continued growth. And then the third is really for you, it's how do you guys take advantage of all of these opportunities for growth, especially in the cross-border e-commerce space? So, the first point is, what does the future hold for e-commerce? And, definitely, I don't have any crystal balls or anything like that with me. So most of these comments assume that we're not going to have another global pandemic or gigantic recession, which I think is hopefully safe right now as we're just coming out of the last one. But, we continue to see at FedEx and through external research that globally, e-commerce sales will continue to increase, will increase by 1.7 trillion dollars between 2022 and 2025. It's true that we did see a drop between 21, which was the absolute height of the COVID boom, buy everything online, stores are locked down, and 2022, where our customers told us that their customers were telling them that consumers were starting to move their dollars and their spend from products to experiences. So, they were starting to take trips. They were just coming out of the entire pandemic. And we think that's what really explains the majority of the dip. You also saw a little inflationary pressure at the end of the year. However, what we're being told is, actually some of that inflationary pressure should fuel e-commerce again, because it's a lot easier to buy a pair of shoes online from Italy than it is to fly over to Italy to buy the same shoes. So we do see a return to purchase of goods and of goods coming in as of 2023. And just as kind of an external data point at FedEx Express in Europe, so very specific, we actually saw our biggest peak ever this past December. So e-commerce continues to boom. The net of that is that e-commerce sales are on track to continue to outpace in-store sales. I know there were numbers during the pandemic thrown around like 70, 80%. We don't go that far yet. But up until 2026, we do see about 1% a year from just under 20% of total retail sales in 2022 to topping 24% in 2026. So the market, as a whole continues to be big and it continues to grow. So the first interactive portion of the session today, when you look at the growth and you think about your own business, and we'll just do a show of hands. I don't have any technology cooler than that. What's your own current global growth strategy? So who's kind of in bucket A? Who's already selling worldwide? Okay, I see one or two. You guys are advanced. There might be a better show. I joke. Who's already selling in Europe? So who thinks they got Europe figured out? That's good. Who's actively looking to grow to new markets? So you're here for ideas. It's perfect. And then who says, you know what, I'm happy selling in Germany. I don't want to translate things into other languages. Anybody like that? You picked wisely. I didn't think there would be, oh, maybe one girl back there raised a pin. She's to be convinced today. And then the final one, and it's fine to admit it, is there anybody who's out there and says, you know, I know there's a lot of growth, but I don't really have a strategy? I love the honesty. You know, I sometimes feel the same way. You know, and I think for this presentation is for you, because I hope what you get by the end is that, one, there's a reason to really sit down and think strategically about where and how you grow. But also at FedEx, and I think most of the providers here would say the exact same thing, we're here to help you formulate and execute on that strategy so that you can take advantage as well. And the even better news is that if you're sitting here in Berlin, in Europe, in the continent, you're already in the right place. Because our numbers show that Europe will actually experience faster annual growth to 2025 in e-commerce sales than the global average. So the globe will be growing just under 10%, Europe at almost 14% to top $1.2 trillion in 2025. So fantastic growth opportunity right here in Europe for those of you who already said you feel you've got it conquered. So what's driving this growth? You know, what do customers keep telling us? What do our customers' customers keep telling us? I think the first thing, and it was kind of started in COVID, you know, the stores were closed and you bought online because you had to. Convenience is still the #1 purchase driver. I think today people buy online because they want to. And you know, another interactive one, who in the last few months has bought something online out of sheer convenience or laziness? And I raise my hand. You know, just because that you would have never thought you would have bought online before COVID. You know, before the pandemic, that was go to the store. It was, for me, it's cleaning products. I hate going to buy cleaning products. I now have them all delivered. But there are thousands of stories out there where out of sheer just, it's easier to get it online. More people are doing it. The second is the desire for greater choice. And I think as humans, you know, we crave variety. We want Italian shoes and we want English suits and we want American shirts. And weirdly enough, at my house, we want Greek rice. And every couple months, we get a shipment of Greek rice from Greece to Belgium. And I don't know what other products we buy in that pack, but it's a gigantic box. But, you know, I don't know what was wrong with Belgian rice, if that's even a thing. But it's just that we want that kind of product. We want that experience. We want that little taste of something that we can't get every day out on the street. And it's really continues to fuel e-commerce because, you know, the world is now the marketplace. I can have something delivered from my parents in the US as easy as I can have something delivered from friends in the UK or Germany or wherever. The growth in the number of people buying online, obviously that's a huge one. We speak a lot about senior shoppers. I'm quickly becoming a senior shopper at FedEx Express. And I think here the only thing I'd say is that, you know, the merchants and the web shops have done a really fantastic job about bringing these people in and then kind of combining 1 and 2 to make sure that they have the right products they're looking for. So they've launched a lot of new categories that are sold online. But they also make it really simple with things like one-click checkout, simple deliveries, delivery options, you know, the kind of things that really make or break, you know, conversion in my opinion. And then you have the growth of mobile commerce. I'll share you on a slide in a couple minutes, you know, a lot of the growth coming from emerging markets. They're really mobile first. And in fact, at FedEx, our fastest growing lanes are into Asia Pacific region, so into China, Hong Kong, Singapore, Australia, and into the Middle East. And the bulk of those transactions are actually made on a mobile device today. So really interesting to see how that's changed. And you kind of combine it with the last one, which is this growth of social commerce. And it took me a while to be a convert, but I'm a real believer because I think that kind of that last barrier to entry in e-commerce was I really like to go to the store and kind of feel like I'm interacting with the product. And again, I think the merchants have gotten so good and so smart at using these new emerging channels, you know, influencers, Instagram, live shopping, whatever you want to call out. to be able to replicate that as best as possible to finally kind of break down that last barrier to moving people online. So you put those all together, you see fantastic growth. The question out there is probably, other than the ones who already say they've got the globe figured out, well, where do I play and how do I take advantage? So a few more statistics. And look, I think our mantra at FedEx is, cross-border is the future. Global markets are the future. The biggest statistic I'd want you to take away today is cross-border e-commerce sales. So sales that are not, Munich to Berlin, but let's say Paris to Berlin, are going to grow twice as fast up to 2030 as national sales. So the growth in cross-border is huge, 26%. And by that same date, 2030, more than $1 in $3 in e-commerce will be a cross-border dollar. So the thought that you can compete in your local market and be happy with that, you've got a time limit on that strategy and mentality. You really need to be thinking cross-border in order to fully take advantage of the growth. Now, where's that all coming from? And obviously Europe is well represented in the top 10 fastest growing markets in the world. You've got Spain, Italy, Turkey, so the Southern European markets, very high growth. We see a lot of business being done there. Latin America, South Africa, so kind of the southern continent, very big on the list. You have some markets in Asia, India, Japan, popping up. And as I said at FedEx, personally, our fastest growing markets are to the Middle East and to APAC. But then I would say, not only because it's where I'm from, but don't sleep on the United States. It's actually, as a cross-border buying opportunity, moved up one position in terms of growth from the same research we did last year. It was number 10. It's now the number 9 fastest growing market. So you've got a large established buying population there. They love European goods. They love quality. And they're ready to buy your products. The only thing is that you've got to fulfill that then. You've got to get the goods from Europe into their hands in the United States. But please, recognize huge opportunity across the globe. If we look at Europe specifically, and I won't take too much time to kill you with the statistics, but the top 7 markets, and I don't think there's too much surprise here, they're going to represent 70% of Europe's e-commerce sales by 2025. So your big players, France, Germany, the UK, definitely present. Again, Turkey is a place specifically at FedEx. We've seen huge growth. We serve a couple of marketplace players, really fantastic customers, and then a big buyer base, again, emerging through mobile, social, and all the things we mentioned before. If we look specific, again, to the populations, and you say, well, it's very saturated in the main markets in Europe. I want to see where the growers are. This slide gives you a good idea of where you'd want to sell if you're looking for the highest growth markets, because these are where all of those people are moving online, as fast as can be, and converting from people who maybe, as for example, in Bulgaria, had almost only 1 in 5 had made an online purchase, now coming close to 40%. Hungary at 70%. They're one of the most active buying populations we have in Europe. So I would say, again, don't forget about mixing in the higher growth markets with your big established markets when you consider where you want to play. There's still big opportunity for expansion, of course. Today, 84% of consumers say the first place they look and most of the purchase conversions are done in their domestic market, so their home market. Only 32% have bought from other EU markets. I think that shows that we need to be pushing that a lot harder, focusing on all the things like convenience, like quality, that we do so well. And then only 22% from the rest of the world. So I think the key takeaway here is established, but still a lot of room to grow in terms of cross-border buying and in terms of how merchants approach customers to try to convince them to buy cross-border versus from a local option. So what do those consumers want? And there's really 5 things that we see consistently, and we kind of track how important they are just in terms of the amount of times those things come up in the research. Number 1 is delivery speed. And I think this is a really interesting one. because we did some research last year around the globe. We asked consumers, what do you expect? If you're buying domestic Germany, if you're buying from China, if you're buying from the US, if you're sending to the US, across the board, you find the same response. Consumers are willing to wait 2 to 3 days for delivery of their goods. And that doesn't really change whether it's coming from Belgium to Germany or Belgium to China. And I think that's really interesting because speed is really a key to breaking into the whole cross-border game. Of course, cost goes along with that, so you need a carrier that offers different delivery speeds that you can match with the cost. Second is flexible deliveries. Of course, we're all moving around now. We're back to work. We're at conferences. We want delivery on our terms. You need to be proposing in the shopping cart the kind of options that you're going to be giving to the end buyers once they make the purchase. That lets them know, if the package is coming on a Tuesday and they say they can't be home, right away they already know, oh, I can redirect that to a retail point for pickup. I can ask for it on a Wednesday instead of the Tuesday. I can have my neighbor sign for it. I can do electronic deliveries. It's not only the ultimate convenience, but it's also a much more sustainable experience for everyone involved. And that brings me to the third point, reusable, sustainable packaging. I think this is one of those brilliant basics that you guys can employ to really kind of bend the needle towards cross-border sales, but toward conversion in general. So important when customers are deciding, when to click buy now. Estimated delivery arrival times. One of the things we found here is customers want them earlier in the process, and they're expecting them to be smaller. So it's no longer that you can wait. If you've got a package coming on Tuesday, the old way of, package out for delivery, I'm coming at noon, that doesn't really work anymore. They want to know 1 to 2 to 3 days in advance when you're coming and at what time you'll be there. So again, they can plan their day in the most flexible way possible. And then finally, returns, something we all like to avoid, the shoe not fitting. But super important that you have clear return policies. And whether you charge or whether you're not, I leave that all to you. But customers do look at your return policies, and that does heavily influence their purchase choice, in terms of whether they convert or not, especially in the cross-border space, because they already assume cross-border returns are going to be quite difficult. So I guess my one sales pitch slide they've allowed me is kind of, how can we at FedEx help you guys stand out in the market, meet customer expectations, and grow your business cross-border? And the first is that, we offer that worldwide shipping experience. So whether you want to sell from Berlin to Brussels or Berlin to Bali, you can do it with FedEx, more or less starting tomorrow, as fast as you'd want to go. So wherever you start to see traffic, and this is one of the things customers tell us, they use tools like SimilarWeb, to track where traffic's coming in from. A provider like FedEx can turn those markets on in 24 hours. So we can grow very quickly with you. We also offer a range of delivery speeds. So we're not a one-trick pony. If you tell me I want to hit New York by tomorrow morning, we can actually do that. If you tell us, look, it's not a wedding dress or a diamond ring, we've got some time and you really want to fall into the majority of that 2 to 3 day delivery promise, we've got a perfect product for that called FedEx International Connect Plus. It's our dedicated e-commerce offer. It ties in all of our value prop in terms of retail, visibility, notifications, convenient pickup and drop off, all into a single product offer for your customers. You can connect it all seamlessly through either our first-party shipping applications or one of our almost 50 certified third-party solutions that we use. So, we want to do business on your terms. However you want to connect, whether that's APIs, third parties, or first parties, we want to have a solution for you. The biggest one, because it's such an important barrier to growing cross-border, is clearance expertise. That's both on the consulting side up front, because you need to make a call on, do I want to show duty and tax in the shopping cart? It's going to probably hurt your conversion, but it's going to help your repeat business because there's no surprises. Or do you want to keep that completely opaque to the customer, close the business at a better rate, but then they're never going to shop again if they get that duty and tax bill when it winds up? We've got the knowledge and know-how in all of those 220 countries in which we operate to help you get there. Visibility and convenience, I always say, look, I mean, we invented tracking back in the 90s. We've continued to refine that with new options, delivery time windows, et cetera. We do give flexible delivery options away through our FedEx Delivery Manager platform for free. So when you send a shipment, your customer can choose his day of delivery. He can sign for it. He can choose his retail point pickup and do almost anything else he'd want to do. And then simplified returns. We've started partnering in this. We've got a great returns portfolio. Whether you're small and you need completely turnkey, we can hook you up with that platform. Or you need really something dedicated, API driven, we have that as well. So tradition, if you guys want to find out more, they flipped the slide on me. I thought I saw a question over there. I guess I leave you with this. There are 4 key actions you'd want to consider when you launch the cross-border journey. The first is to remember those 5 purchase factors. Look at how your own strategy, your website, the way you do localization, the way you present your brand, the way you do product descriptions aligns to all of those things, because those really drive consumer choice. Second is give the customers what they want. And I think that's resounding no matter if it's COVID or pre-COVID or post-COVID. In e-commerce, recipients define quality. So when your recipient's happy, they're going to buy more. That's always going to be the right choice. Make their lives as easy as possible and give them flexibility. Focus on the key markets, and that doesn't always mean the most well-established markets. Don't sleep on the emerging ones, because that's where you can really find a niche. You can also drive a lot of profitability out of those markets, because they're probably looking for goods they can't find at home, and they're willing to subsidize some of the cost to get them there. And then last but not least, partner with an experienced logistics provider. If you're going to ship to 220 countries, you want somebody with that kind of knowledge in the local market who can help you out if and when things go wrong. They can set you up for success. I recommend you look for a provider that can grow with you. Sometimes the guys, we'll talk to a small customer who was doing 3 packs a day. They start selling on, a marketplace, or they use social strategy, and all of a sudden they're doing 300 or 3,000 packs a day. And they come to us looking at how fast they can switch. And I think if you think about that kind of scale and growth from the start, you'll be in a lot better place. And then combine that with the local expertise. Again, I can't say enough to have people and boots on the ground to help out. They'll know the customs. They'll know the best way to deliver a package in Argentina versus America versus Canada. And then finally, I'll just kind of leave you with one kind of interactive point. It's you can use the QR code again, or you can come see us at the booth. But we're always trying to learn in marketing. I think this FedEx e-commerce game for us, it's still quite new. We launched the team 3 years ago. We're always interested in hearing from our customers. So my question is, if there was one thing other than cheap rates, because I always get cheap rates, but one thing beyond cheap rates that you'd like support with from a carrier such as FedEx, that your customers are telling you, what would that be? And, drop it in the chat. Come see me after the speech. Come see myself and the commercial team at the booth. But we'd love to hear your feedback. If you are interested in taking your business online with FedEx, you can scan the QR code there to get a personalized offer. You can come see us in person. We've got fantastic resources if you're a small business and you need things as simple as how do I fill out a commercial invoice or how do I pack a package. You can look at our shipping channel, really easy, digestible videos. FedEx.com and the Small Business Hub contains all of our research, so we don't keep a lot of stuff on our desk. We push the research out to you guys in nicely packaged articles. Check that out. And, come see us. I hope you liked what you heard. I think we've got 5 minutes. I'm glad to take any questions. If not, I say thank you.
I will start. If I sparkle something, I guess a question you always get. 3 years, when was Brexit? A long time ago, still a topic. How did Brexit affect it, and what happened?
Yeah, Brexit and a couple other, kind of protectionist measures. But I think in both cases, the importance of knowing regulation was put on people's radar, because before, if you're trading in the European Union, you didn't really have to think about it. with the UK being such a big buying market, all of a sudden that became, priority one is understand regulation, understand how to fill out a commercial invoice, understand which carriers have, operations up and running who aren't trying to catch up themselves as well. I think customers are just much more aware of these things because they also see, on the bad side, they get now the duty and tax bills after they bought their shoes that they never saw coming, and they really hate that. The positive is that there are great first-party and third-party softwares that have popped up. You can now do any kind of customs clearance, duty tax support right in the shopping cart with API plugins. So there's been a positive too. I think there's been a whole kind of emergence of technologies to help out.
Thank you. So the market has adjusted to it. That's always good to know. The market adjusts. Wow, philosophy here. Yeah, more questions? Yes, over there. I think this hand was slightly quicker, so I jump here.
Hi. Thank you, first of all. I was just wondering where this data came from, the slide of shoppers have more choice than ever. Sorry, I didn't catch where that data came from. Is it from like an internal survey from FedEx? The slide where you say like 78% want speed of delivery and then 71%, where is that data coming from? Sorry.
Was one of the slides where you had some squares next to each other?
Yeah. Internal consumer, e-commerce delivery compass. So one of our partners we work with does the research. We can provide you the slides too, I think, so you have them. Good question.
Anything you want to expand on that or want to know more? Like happy with the source? Then I jump over here, yeah?
So consumers do ask us if we, we have a company based in the US and the consumers from Ireland or Britain are always asking if we can ship them products. But we deal with B2B and there's just so much there's information that we don't have, like customs clearance and all that stuff. That's still a problem for small businesses. So we want like apps that integrate with Etsy or Shopify that can make it so swift to make that decision, quickly inform our customers and make the sale happen. What are you guys doing to make that happen?
I hope it works here. It does. Yeah, no, I mean, that's a fantastic question, right? I mean, it kind of related to yours, right? With all the change in regulation, how do you ever expect to, the best thing that we've found is partnering. So I couldn't name them all, and I'd be wrong but we work with Zonos, for example, on doing plugins, very light plugin, API driven for a total landed cost, duty tax, SKU classification, those kind of things. We have a great partnership with eShop World to do some shipping. So I think really look for third parties. We also have FedEx Global Trade Manager if you're using our own online tool. That's for 0 to 3 pack a day customers. Once you get beyond that, you probably want to upgrade to a third party just because you're doing so much volume. But for small businesses, we have FedEx.com, which can help you on that as well. So.